Just waiting to double check that this is live. Hope you're here with us tonight. Yes, we're live. So let me welcome you to the July 27th episode of Zoom In on the 2020 presidential elections in America. My name is David Martinez. I'm an American journalist living in Milan. Been here for 30 years or so. And I'm a communications consultant and the founder of Global Focus and our English at Work curriculum. So if you're interested in the presidential elections and you're interested in listening to me talk about them, I also invite you to take a look at our website and see some of the other both community initiatives that we're involved in and the courses and services in English communications that we offer. But getting to the question that everybody is asking more and more urgently, just what won't Trump do to keep himself in power? Last week in a Fox News interview, he claimed that he would, well, he didn't claim, he refused to deny that he would accept or not accept the election results if he lost. On the contrary, he mentioned that the Supreme Court recently indicated that presidential executive orders can offer him the opportunity to stay in power, although that wasn't what the Supreme Court specifically referred to. His interpretation involves staying in power. This is something we're going to be dealing with for the next couple of months. There are still basically 3 months to go. The elections are the 3rd of November, and after taking a short break these next 2 weeks, we will be back on the 17th of August, just in time for the Democratic National Convention, which this year will probably be a virtual convention since the COVID the COVID disaster, the COVID, I don't know how you want to, how do you see the COVID environment? But basically, there will not be these enormous electoral conventions with 50,000 people all standing and cheering in one auditorium or stadium or arena. But the conventions, both the Democratic and now Trump has admitted the Republican conventions, will be basically virtual conventions streamed just like this show now over the internet. And this will probably change the dynamics. It'll certainly give the Democratic or the political kingmakers a little less space, and probably give more space and more time to ordinary people to also weigh in and see what express their opinions and views and support for their candidates. In any case, right now, everything's proceeding as if the elections were basically normal. However, it's still to be seen if, in fact, they will be normal because of the COVID influence. That is, the idea that people will not be going to vote with the same enthusiasm because, in fact, there's an opportunity, or rather the possibility of being contaminated or infected. This has spurred a large number of states and people to vote by mail. This is a process that different states, as often happens in the United States, the 50 different states have 50 different ways of organizing and executing these different mail-in elections. This may give Trump the opportunity to contest the results, or it'll give him another element that could be useful for him to contest the results. That is, saying that the results were not counted properly, were counted too slowly, or the ballots arrived after the deadline, etc., etc. So we can probably expect that these mail-in ballots and therefore COVID will have some influence over the style of the election, just like it'll have some influence over the conventions. In any case, the big news this week, and started actually 10 days ago, is that Trump has sent federal troops into different American cities, justifying this intervention by armed military troops, by saying that they are there to protect federal property, specifically, in most of the cases, federal courthouses. Unfortunately, the presence of these federal troops is constitutionally unclear, at the least, or it's unconstitutional. It's generally something that you don't want happening before an election, because the troops in the cities, in American cities, does give this kind of a flavor of dictatorship to political expression, and so the official rationale, the protecting federal property, seems to fall a little flat when compared to some of the other bigger issues that seem to be concern more people right now, specifically COVID and the COVID economy. Still, Trump has been ignoring COVID as best as possible, and the economy as well, focusing solely on the stock exchange results, which continue to be phenomenal. However, if you don't own stock, and if the stock market does not suddenly collapse, then things, or if it does collapse, things will look quite considerably different. In any case, there are currently 30 million people collecting unemployment insurance from the government. That is, they're out of work and they're receiving a reduced salary for this, due to the COVID virus. These benefits are scheduled to run out this coming Saturday, August 1st, and the Democrats and Republicans have been arguing, of course, about what comes next. Should they recognize the problem, both the health issues and the economic issues, or which Trump recently has done? I mean, he has accepted the fact that people should wear masks, should socially distance, that it's not necessarily safe to reopen the economy or business. However, he has also insisted that the schools will open as scheduled for the 2020-2021 school year. 30 million workers unemployed, and not sure if they're going to continue receiving any money after this coming Saturday. As I said, the Democrats that control the House of Representatives have put up a proposal involving a lot of money, $4 trillion, which contrasts significantly with the Republican Senate, which has put up a proposal for a $1 trillion emergency budget. The Democratic proposals seem to be more concrete. They're aimed at getting the money to the people and to the states, whereas the Republican proposals seem to be keeping things basically as they are, and basically posturing politically with very little chance of success, since they have to come to some agreement, and the difference between $1 and $4 trillion is, well, you know, I don't know. If you want, you can take 1 or you can take 4. Personally, I think the $4 trillion is more in line with the economic dimensions of the crisis and the country. For example, one of the things that the Democrats are promoting are 4 times as much money for education. This seems to be kind of a critical issue. Education actually doesn't immediately produce improvement in the economy. On the contrary, it seems to be expensive. However, you can't just abandon a generation of school children for the foreseeable future, and also, of course, one of the other issues is that if children have to stay home, someone has to stay home with them. So there's either a very economic and expensive proposition of keeping your children educated and taken care of while you work, because that seems to be an essential part of the mathematics, or the students just don't learn. So doesn't seem to be a long-term solution. However, it does need to be at least begun to be taken care of currently, and not just procrastinating in some future time. Let's see. Other things. Just some other statistics about COVID in the US. Obviously, things are not going very well. There are more than 4.2 million cases and 150,000 mortalities as of, or almost 150,000. I think there are 147,000 fatalities as of now. This is in large part due to the lack of coordination on a national level, and in fact, unfortunately, despite Trump's accepting masks and social distancing, it still hasn't translated into getting the healthcare workers better assistance and better testing. Currently in New York, you have to wait a week for your test results, whereas in Milan, for example, I think you wait something in the order of 6 hours. To alleviate that sort of problem, they've begun group testing. That is, they put a lot of these test swabs, where they've taken the sample of your saliva. They put several people's swabs into a collective test, and if no one results positive, well, then they can say that those 5 or 10 or 100,000 people are safe or not infected. For some scientists believe that this is a better solution than waiting 6 or 7 days, and in fact, maybe they're right. In any case, the lack of coherence has definitely, and the lack of faith in science and the lack of faith in Obamacare and public health have been startling, to say the least, and have damaged Trump's campaign for re-election. People seem to, and even Donald Trump most recently has seemed to understand that in fact the problem is on everyone's mind. Anyway, if his message is incoherent, that's something that you could say is kind of part of the Trump mystique, or the Trump approach to politics. Never say the same thing twice, never let people have any indication of how things are developing, surprise people in every possible way. However, not everybody's very happy with that. The Republican senators and House representatives are quite worried that Trump is way behind in the polls, and that this will result in a net defeat for the Republicans, certainly in the House, and they're worried as well in the Senate, which currently they control and therefore would hope to maintain control of for the duration of the election of a Democratic president. However, as I said, Trump's communications have been a little incoherent. He, on the one hand, he accuses his adversary, Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee, of being radical, and on the other hand, to kind of help people, he says that the government will try to manipulate or contain COVID drug prices, which sounds a lot like Obamacare and government interference for the people that support Trump. Another element that's been quite visible from Italy and from around the world is how the lack of participation by the United States in the World Health Organization. Trump actually has already stepped out of the World Health Organization. How that has damaged the reputation of the United States as world leaders. Okay, yes, they have a big economy. Okay, yes, they have a big military power and military budget. However, it was generally not a really something that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans thought about much. Was that America is a world leader. Currently, that doesn't really seem to be Trump's biggest issue. He's established a policy of a foreign policy related to what's the benefit for him, whether as a candidate or perhaps even financially. This past week, we learned that he asked his ambassador to Britain to try to bring the British golf tournament, the British Open, to his golf courses in Scotland. Just business, not foreign policy, but still, he was using a government official to try to promote that idea. It's become difficult for other countries to line up behind Trump and behind the United States because There's no leader to line up behind. He's not leading on response to COVID. The Paris climate accords have been sabotaged by Trump's stepping out of those accords, even though they're voluntary. And so the United States is finding itself more and more isolated in its unilateral approach to foreign affairs. As I say, the Republicans are concerned that Trump is leading them to a disastrous defeat in November, the 3rd of November, and they're currently they need to spend amazing amounts of money in states that normally they would not spend any money in because they would consider them guaranteed Republican states. So it's becoming a costly mismanagement of the campaign for Trump and for the Republican Party. Supposedly, Biden will nominate his vice president on the 1st of August, this coming Saturday. As I say, we won't be back on these Monday Zoom-in transmissions until the 17th of August. But I still stand by my prediction that the candidate, the woman that he intends to nominate as vice president, will be Susan Rice. As I've said before, Susan Rice was Obama's national security advisor and also the American representative to the United Nations. She's ready to be president starting day one. And for a 78-year-old presidential nominee, that would seem to be more important than any specific political benefits that she might eventually bring. For example, coming from a critical state where normally Biden might imagine losing the state election, that candidate might provide some cushion and some guarantee of winning that critical state. However, currently Biden is ahead in all the national polls and all of the most contested individual states. So it doesn't seem like he needs to make a political decision. He needs to make a rational, objective decision on the capabilities of this person to take over in the case that he's incapacitated during his presidency, and the person has the experience and knowledge and relationships that would allow them to make that transition as easily as possible. There are other women that have been that are on Biden's list. He said that he was going to nominate a woman, and he may not make that announcement on the 1st of August. Personally, I think because of the virtual nature of the conventions, that he will announce this at the convention to give a little more interest and I love nature, but I've donated enough blood for these mosquitoes. In any case, we will be back on the 17th of August as the Democratic Convention begins to update you, not on the vacation I'm taking in the next 2 weeks, but on the developments in an already quite a different but and an important presidential election campaign. Hope you can be back with us on the 17th of August. Look forward to seeing what happens during those conventions, the debates that will follow, the election, and we will stay on the air every week, Mondays at 9 p.m. until the 30th of November, just to see how Trump manages his defeat, if in fact he is defeated. On the other hand, we'll see how he manages his victory, if in fact he's victorious. So stay with us. If you have questions, if you'd like to know something about the Electoral College, about the vice presidential candidates, about any aspect of the election, please feel free to write me. You can write to formazione@globalfocus.it. Hope to hear from you shortly.